I'm Dr. Laura Schlessinger, and you are listening and watching another special episode of this crazy idea I came up with, talking to people about the backstory. I mean, we have wonderful sponsors. We only take sponsors who have a wonderful service or product that's fabulous. So that goes without saying. But I just find it fascinating to know how we got from a fertilized egg to a person who creates GoldenCrest medals. Rich Jacoby, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dr. Laura.
And speaking of the backstory, how did you become a fertilized egg? Tell me about your parents. Where are they from? What
Um,
did they do?
so, so it's kind of interesting story. My dad started out as a military policeman in the Army in Vietnam, and
Wow.
my mother was a hairdresser. So, um, came up in a kind of an eclectic family upbringing, but my dad kind of geared me towards going into the military, and I actually went into the police force. I went into LAPD for a number of years and wanted to help people out. That was my main goal, and I told my dad the same thing. So when I did it for a couple of years, I found out that I wasn't really making a difference. It's kind of a vicious cycle of, a lot of the calls were domestic violence and
Hmm.
um, you would arrest the significant other and then they would be out the next week and you would arrest them again. And I just felt like nothing was happening. I was just running in place. So, I told my dad, I wanted to make a different kind of switch in careers, and I kind of got into commercial real estate or multifamily development and did that for a number of years, was very successful. And then somebody approached me about gold and silver, that there were a lot of companies out there that were taking advantage of seniors and their retirements and everything else. And I thought it was something I could help out with by being transparent with the group. And that's kind of that was the impetus for starting GoldenCrest Metals, as I wanted to help people out and help seniors out because my grandparents were taken advantage of one of those publisher clearinghouse deals.
Ooh,
And
tell me
yeah,
more about that. How did that happen?
so what happened is that they spent their entire retirement with in this publisher clearinghouse, and I don't know if it was publisher clearinghouse, but it was something similar to it where they had to keep dumping money into it. And then they said they won, and a truck would come with
Hmm.
a check and everything else. And nobody ever came. And we should have had a better handle on their finances, but my grandfather was wanted his autonomy. So unfortunately, he lost everything because people took advantage of him. And that kind of resonated with me that I wanted to start this business to help people and, try to get them going as far as, making a profit. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Well, tell me more about your grandparents. Were they naive, all too trusting? Were they not cognitively competent? What was happening that
I
led
think
them to keep going down a rabbit hole?
I think, he served in World War II, very sharp guy, but after the years he got polio.
Oh.
And he just was not cognitive, like you said,
Hmm.
of what was going on. He was easily duped. And I just think it was old age, and we eventually had to put him in a retirement home. And, it's hard to see somebody kind of wither away that you
Yes.
love, and really didn't know what to do. After he lost all his money, we basically all had to chip in and get
Hmm.
him in a retirement home, but that was really painful too. So
So when in all of this did you settle down?
I settled down in my late 20s. I was kind of just got out of the police force, wasn't really looking for anything. And then, I met a girl that I grew up next door to and reunited with her.
Next door.
So, yeah, next door girl. Um, we have two beautiful kids. We've been married like 22 years. So it kind of shaped me, and she's been a good support structure for me.
So, how did you propose?
Um, well, I met her at a hotel that we used to go to, and I brought over actually 11 flowers to her, and I said, I think I'm missing a rose, and she goes, Oh, really? And I said, Yeah, and on the rose I have the engagement ring, and I brought it out.
Oh, you're a
Yeah,
romantic.
yeah, I was a romantic. So she's always been supportive of my ventures. And when I told her about this GoldenCrest thing, she goes, Are you sure you want to do this? She goes, It's kind of a weird industry from what I've read about some of the owners and how they've taken advantage of. And I said, Well, that's why I want to make a difference. I want to see what I can do differently to help people out. And that it's such a satisfying feeling internally when you help somebody out and then they call you back and say, Thank you for leading me in the right direction and not taking advantage of me.
Well,
So,
tell me a little bit more about the techniques of taking advantage of people in this particular industry.
well,
How
in
does
this
that work?
industry, well, they overprice the metals, and a lot of people are, I wouldn't say they're naive, they're just not aware of the current pricing models that are for
Mm.
metals. And so you get a lot of older people that are in their 50s up to their 90s that we've dealt with that, get taken advantage of on pricing and they get price gouged. And then they look at their statement and they figure if they invested 100,000, that their account's only worth 50,000.
Mm.
So that was one of the things I've seen. I've seen where there's a number of companies that have been shut down where they've sent the money in, but the metals never get shipped. So,
Whoa. That's
yeah.
just
So
basic fraud. Yeah.
it's just fraud and they've been arrested and the FTC and the SEC, they all get involved and everything. And they've shut a lot of those down, but they pop up again under a different name. So, it's unfortunate. And, we're trying to corner the market where, we stand out, as far as being an honest company.
And tell me about your kids.
Kids, my son just graduated U of A. He's 21 years old, almost 22. He is in the pharmaceutical sales field. So he got involved in that and he's doing really well with that.
Well,
My
that's another arena where there's funny business.
There is a lot of funny business, and he's got a good coach. His best friend's father is involved in it, so he fell
Mm.
into a good group. So he's kind of got some good mentorship on that.
Well, he was also brought up with your notion of things should be moral and do the right thing.
Yeah, I like to think so. I brought both my kids up the same way, treat people the way that you like to be treated. Um, my daughter's a level 10 gymnast and
Wow.
yeah, she's got 1 year to go in high school and she's already looking at schools to go to, but she's a competitive gymnast.
Is she going to, do you think, be in the Olympics sometime?
She's hoping to. I mean, she obviously wants to go Division 1,
Yeah.
which, from the coaches are saying, and from what I've seen as a father, and I know I'm kind of biased, I think she will. I think she'll do very well.
Is she and all of you up to speed on a lot of the inappropriate actions taken against these girls who are in gymnastics by people they counted on?
Yes.
Sexual exploitation,
Yeah.
etc. You
I think
guys
it
on top of
was,
that?
we're on top of it. We watch it very closely. We watched I think it was Michaela Maroney was one of
Right.
the people that came out. Um, so, and I've watched it with my daughter and I said, these are the things to watch out for, not just in gymnastics, but in school as well with teachers, because you've seen the things that have been going on with these teachers and student relationships. So,
Sounds like both
but
your kids are well prepared to handle real life.
yeah, they are. I think they're ready to fly the coop.
So tell me a little bit about your wife.
My wife was a school teacher for a number of years, and she enjoyed it. She taught second and first grade, and that's when we kind of reunited with each other, and she was teaching. And then when we had our kids, it was too difficult for her to work and take care of two kids at the same time. So even though they were years apart, I told her, I said, I'll work harder so you can take care of the kids.
Oh my
Um,
God, you just won my heart in red corpuscles.
yeah, the only unfortunate thing is I ended up missing a lot of my kids'
Oh,
extracurricular activities because I was working,
mm.
and I was working 12, 14-hour days. So
Oh, well, a little bit in overdrive there, but I get it.
yeah, but it was to have the mother, take care of the kids and everything else. And that's what I wanted. And on the weekends, it was tough because I was tired, but I'd have to drag myself out of bed for their basketball, baseball, gymnastics, whatever it was.
So, do you do you have the sense that there's a quality relationship with both of them now that they're more mature?
Yeah, it is because the job that I have now with GoldenCrest Metals, it gives me the autonomy to break away for hours where I don't have to sit in front of a computer,
Right.
24/7 and just manage fires all day long. So it allows me my freedom to do that, which helps out a lot with my family. So I enjoy doing what I'm doing because it's satisfying, but I also enjoy the freedom of it as well.
This is great. I'm deliriously happy with everything you're saying. You're a very spectacular person.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
the part of the commercial that I read has this $25,000 you could end up getting free. What is that about?
So what it was is that because people were overcharging for metals, I wanted to figure out a way to give something back, but taking it off our margin. So a lot of people say, oh, they just add that price onto their metals, when they give the free metals. And that's not true. I
No.
run a very lean overhead. I got a master's degree while I was married and working and figured out what my business plan was going to be. And I was able to kind of act as a CFO, CEO, CMO, and I didn't need to hire all these people. So I know a lot of people say it's not scalable because you're kind of a one-man show, but I don't want to be the biggest. I just want to be the best at what I do. So um, that was kind of the way I wanted to organize it. And I said, I'll take a dip on my margins because, I don't need that overhead. And that way I'm able to give free metals away. Usually it's like 10% based on your gross sale of premium vintage coins that we sell. And a lot of people are satisfied with that because when they roll over 401ks or IRAs, it has to go into a depository. So they never see their metals. So I actually ship these free metals directly to their house so they have it.
I don't even know what to say to that. That's purely amazing.
Yeah.
Where do you get the metals from? I mean, how does this start?
There's so it starts there's a wholesaler or not there are wholesalers that are authorized by the US Mint. And there's I think about 10 of them.
Oh,
And they list them on their website. And we broker from these wholesalers and we look at different pricing programs and see who's got the best. But we don't travel outside what the US Mint authorizes to make sure that the purity and the quality's there.
and you specifically in your building have a way of checking the quality, maybe?
So we have a brick and mortar office, but we don't store any metals at our office,
Hmm.
obviously for security
Sure.
reasons. We store it in a depository. We have our own account there where we store, our overload or overflow metals.
Hmm.
So um, that's probably the best way to do it. Keeping metals. And I've discussed this with a lot of seniors is like you probably up to a certain amount, it's okay to keep metals in your house, but once it gets to a certain point, it has to go into a security deposit or depository for safety reasons.
Right. And do most people follow suit? Or do they
They
just
do.
like to see them all the time?
There's a lot of people that want to touch and feel them. I mean, I have people that want to go visit the depository in Delaware and actually see the medals to make sure they're there. So
Oh,
we've had
well,
that
okay.
happen. Yeah, so we've had that happen too.
So, what advice would you have for young people? You've mentioned older people all the time in discussing the medals and how
Right.
they're buying them and putting them in storage and what. Should young people in their 20s, 30s start?
They should, but they really don't. I hate to say this, they don't listen because they're more into Bitcoin and
Mm,
crypto, um, get rich quick schemes. In gold and silver, I've learned, is a long game.
mm,
It takes a long time to get your return, which is fine for a lot of people because it's a low risk, safe haven. If you want to get into volatility and play the stock market and day trade, which I've day traded as well, and it's not fun. And if you want to get into crypto and ride that roller coaster, that's kind of what the younger demographic does. And I've tried to coach them not to do that, but they have their own way of doing things.
one, quick, quick. Well, I'm 79. This is where you say, really, you don't look it. I'm 79.
Here you
So
go.
if I can gold and silver, you said it's for the long haul.
All right.
What's my long haul? How much time do I
Usually
have?
3 to 5 years.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, that's easy, isn't
I can do that many times over, I think. Is
it?
there anything else you would like to throw in? Because I have so enjoyed this conversation. You're a very
No,
interesting, frankly,
no.
wonderful guy.
I've been watching you and I've really enjoyed the relationship and partnership with you, and it's been great.
Well, thank you. And now in the commercial, I know about the 20,000, and I do want to add in that you don't get a cut of that. That's a gift. That is a
That's a
gift.
gift. Yeah,
That's amazing. Just
yeah.
amazing. I thank you so much for coming on today and telling us the backstory to your wonderful company. And lots of
Thank you,
hugs to your
Dr. Laura.
family.
Thanks a lot.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.